Hello and welcome. I'm Silvia Pavoni, economics editor of The Banker, and I'm in Buenos Aires for the G20 meeting of the Institute of International Finance. I now have the great pleasure of speaking to Bill Morneau, the Finance Minister of Canada. Thank you for joining me.
It's great to be here. Looking forward to it.
So the overriding theme of this event is trade. And Canada is right in the middle of it, with both Nafta renegotiations, but also provisions in the most recent budget for trade relations with China. There aren't similar provisions for a potentially failed Nafta, if I am correct. Does it mean that Canada is over-optimistic on the result of Nafta and also on the outcome of a trade relationship with China?
Broadly, what we've been focused on really from the time we came into office, which is back in 2015, is a global approach to trade, which is an open trading relationship. Canada's clearly said that we believe there's benefits to trade, and that includes our trade with the United States and Mexico, of course, but also trading with other parts of the world. The way we look at Nafta, we're focused on trying to make sure that we make it better. So we've been very constructive at the table. We're working aggressively to try to get to a renewed Nafta in as reasonable a time frame as possible. And we're feeling, cautiously optimistic that we are definitely making progress. The more broad frame, though, is that since we've come into office, we've signed an agreement with Europe, the Canada-Europe Trade Agreement. We've recently signed the CPTPP, focusing on how we can enhance trade with Pacific countries. And of course, as you mentioned, we've looked towards how we can expand our relationship with China. That was something that we talked about in our recent budget, but it's broader than just trade. We're thinking about how we can expand our relationship with people-to-people ties, things like education and tourism, and how we can, over time, ensure that we have success in our relationship.
So a broader outlook for Canada in the world. And you're about to address the audience here at the IIF. You are going to mention other aspects that are very much relevant to this event, which have to do with the future of work, with technology. Can you give me a few highlights of what you will say?
I'm happy to. Well, this year not only are we here at the G20, but of course Canada is the president of the G7 this year. So I'll talk about some of the key themes that we're looking at in that role, things that align with our policy in Canada but have a broader global impact. We'll talk about the importance of ensuring that all Canadians have a real and fair chance at success. And of course that's a global issue. That focus will really be on women who can still have more success in our economy, we believe, and obviously engaging the success of women around the world will help not only improve economic growth, but also deal in some places with real demographic challenges. Similarly, we're thinking about how the Canadian focus on the future of work, on the impacts of automation, how that actually deals with people's real situation in our economy. So we're investing in science and research, but we're also saying that we need to deal with the transition that puts in people. So we're thinking about training and retraining and how we can ensure that people are successful tomorrow as they have been today. And finally, we're looking at the importance of ensuring that as we grow in our economy, that we share that growth among all Canadians. And similarly, around the world, we're talking about inclusive growth, making sure that we don't have a situation where we grow, but people feel left behind. So we're talking about the need to have specific policies to actually deal with that challenge that in many cases the growth doesn't always benefit everyone, and that we need to deal with that from a policy standpoint. So those are some key themes that we'll be thinking at the G7 table, that I'll be talking about this morning, and some of those themes that we're talking at the G20 table. So the future of work is an Argentinian focus for the G20 that's very consistent with what we're trying to achieve.
Very well. So trade, future work, and Canada's place really in the global agenda. Yes. So I'll let you go. I know you only have a few minutes before your speech. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thanks.